Welcome to Issues and Insights. I'm George Pennington, your occasional host, and per instructions from the state, we're going to take these off because we're like 12, 15, 18 feet apart now. We're adhering to the rules. And today with us we have Miss Sarah Vaughn, and Miss Sarah works for the city of E-Town, and she's got a title like 15 words. Events coordinator, management, a little bit of everything, choreographer, everything. What's your official title, sir?
Events program manager.
Events program manager,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So it's about this time of year, and I think I know some things that are coming up, and then I think I know some things that aren't happening this year.
Yeah.
So go ahead and start with your big events.
Well, the biggest announcement, of course, for the year is it's the 30th anniversary for Christmas in the Park. We're super excited that, you know, these days not too many things survive 30 years as far as events go, and we're very proud of that. We have been working a lot with the folks who are responsible for starting it because the work that they put in, you know, at the very beginning and laid the foundation, they're things we're still doing and using today.
Okay.
And so it was just very well created, and here in a little bit you're going to get to see a chance of Mayor Pat Durbin, who it was her idea.
Okay.
And we want to make sure folks, you know, we like to give credit where credit's due, and so there's a lot of folks involved, have been a lot of folks involved over the years, but was able to get Mayor Pat Durbin and Carolyn Ritchie, who was her secretary at the time.
Didn't know that.
Yes, and so Carolyn really was, Pat gives her the credit for really getting it off the ground, getting folks together.
She's a worker bee.
Very much.
She is a worker bee.
Very much. So I got the opportunity to interview both of them, which you'll see, and I never met Carolyn before, heard a lot about her, you know, just being a city employee for many years, and she, first of all, she impressed me right off the bat because she had the notes from the very first meeting 30 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
And, you know, she said, I don't even know why I have these things. She's just very organized, and she brought a stack like this, George.
Oh my gosh.
To sit down with us at the theater and go through. And so we were able to pull a lot of that. We're going to be showing a lot of photos on our Facebook page.
So when was that done? The interview you're going to show?
In 1990. So,
okay. The one you're going to show.
We're going to be releasing that on our social media platforms. A link to that, it's actually going to be on via YouTube.
Okay.
We'll be doing that in the next week or so.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
So we also have an interview with Billy Pate. So Billy Pate with Nolan RECC. Billy has been a part of the Christmas in the Park committee for years as well. And like I said, there's many more people.
Yes.
I don't want anyone to watch it and go, well, hey, I worked on it for 15 years. Why didn't she call me? There's a lot of people. So we just tried to pick a few.
Sure.
Because of social distancing and all of those things, we didn't want to, you know, we couldn't get every interview, unfortunately, but we're just so grateful for the work.
So where'd you do the interviews? Here at the state?
At the State Theater.
At the state, okay.
Yeah, so they've got some really cool information. That the coolest thing is that they actually used a car counter at the very beginning of Christmas in the Park, and so the numbers that they showed to me in their paperwork, this 30-year-old paperwork, is that, to be honest with you, because right now we see anywhere from 30,000 to 40,000 cars that go through Christmas in the Park during the 6 weeks. Their numbers weren't much different, and they only had 19 entries.
Wow.
So, you know, you can say, well, it really hasn't grown that much, but at the same time, you can say the community has backed this from day one.
So it had 19 entries the inaugural year.
About 19 entries is what it started.
What are we at today?
Well,
is it over?
The city puts in probably over 30, honestly. We use a lot of fillers. We've added a lot. This year we're adding a whole farm scene.
Okay.
So over the year, and then some businesses over the years have given their displays to the city.
Gotcha.
And so
Gotcha.
the city, you know, we set up about 30, and then we have about 90-something vendors.
Oh, wow.
So it's huge. It's grown. We always have room, you know, which is great. Every year, some people have to, you know, bow out, especially this year.
Is Puff the Magic Dragon back?
He is
good,
back.
Good,
he's
good,
in
good.
the lake, and he's ready to go
Good.
with his tail the correct way.
Okay.
So we have another edition in the water this year. We've got some really cool things happening. And
great.
then one of our local churches is doing a live nativity for the second year in a row. But
Okay.
they're doing it 2 different nights.
Okay.
So yeah,
Wow.
it's just a really cool. It's just great. And like I said, being able to interview Pat and Carolyn, the minds behind it, was just a great experience for us to be able to showcase and let people know who's responsible for this. I know as a child going through it, first of all, you don't really care
being from Vancouver, you were a little taken back by all the to do there,
I've never
weren't you?
even been to Vancouver. That's funny. But yeah, you don't really know who's over it. And even when I started my job at the city, and Mary Shadoan at the time was over it and was for many years, she was like, I want you to be on the committee. And I said, I didn't realize the city, you just don't think about who oversees that. And so I wanted folks to know who started it and where it came from. And Pat will tell you in the interview, it was really what she calls a God wink. And it was kind of a happy accident.
Right.
And so you just never know, you know, when you get an idea and you start to execute that, what it could grow into, and the thousands of people that have enjoyed that. And I have to tell this one story before we move on to the next, but there's one entry by Roger Sign, and it is it's a cross, and it's just, it's a very simple display, probably the simplest display that's out there, but it's right next to CommuniCare. And we were told several years ago of a patient that was there at CommuniCare, and he was actually about to take his own life. And so he's just looking out, right where his window was.
Because it's right up against that fence there.
It's right there, and where the window was, he could actually see the lights of Christmas in the park, and he's just kind of looking out and thinking about things, and then he sees the cross.
Oh my God!
And it was and he ended up not committing suicide. And so I tell that story. It's a heavy story, but you just never know the purpose of things, and you just don't know, you know. So it brings joy at so many different levels.
It does.
We love it. The kids love it, and it's free. So even
and
better.
Even in a 2020 year, you can still have it.
We can still have it. It is already socially distanced,
Yes.
so it was great. But the other thing with that, we do the Trolley Express, and even with the governor's new mandates of the 25 people.
So what is
less.
that? What's the Trolley Express?
We started this a couple of years ago as an opportunity for folks to take a trolley ride through Christmas in the park. And then afterwards, the kids get a chance to see Santa and get some hot cocoa. Some of it's going to be changed a little bit because of COVID. But they still get a chance to see Santa. We still have a few tickets left. They're $15 each. But they get that trolley ride. They get to go all the way through Christmas in the park on a trolley. The coolest thing is you get to cut lines. You don't have to set in line.
Is that in the evening, during the day? How does that work?
It's during Christmas in the park.
It's during that. Okay.
Yeah. So it's when Christmas in the park is going on. It's the first Friday and Saturday, the first 3 of December. And so, folks, if there's just a few tickets, but you can get that at etownevents.com.
Okay.
And check that out. So and then the last thing we have is, because we're not having the parade and we're not having the light up and we're not doing all the fun stuff and no Christmas movies.
Bah humbug.
Bunch of bah humbug. I know. It's very sad. But we are going to have downtown lit up.
Okay, good.
We're going to get Santa on the back of a fire truck. Our target day is the first weekend in December, but we'll have more information out hopefully in the next couple of days.
Yes.
And a route. And so Santa's going to be on the back of a fire truck. We're going to do our very best to hit most of the city.
Good.
Unfortunately, we can't hit every street and every house. It's just
so it literally goes all the way, goes around.
Yeah. So we're going to follow a lot of the route that our leaf pickup for Public Works uses. So that's a route that hits
pretty neat.
a largest part of the city.
Yes, it does.
And so we're going to do our best to bring Santa to you. So we'll let folks know what the route is. We're going to start, hopefully we'll release the times and the for sure dates and all that good stuff in the coming days. And then drive through downtown. We're going to have our big Christmas trees already in. It's not decorated yet, but it's huge. It's beautiful.
So where is that?
It's right on Walker Square.
Okay, it's right there.
Yeah. So, and then we've got the lights are still going up downtown. Our target day is December 5th to have all that done. So downtown will still be lit up. So we encourage everybody to walk downtown, patronize all the businesses downtown, get a to-go cup of coffee, get a to-go pizza.
Yes.
Any of our businesses, really, all of our local businesses, but downtown specifically we'll have lit up as usual. We're adding some more lights at the State Theater. We're adding some more at City Hall. We're trying our best to bring some more Christmas cheer to a bah humbug year.
Yeah, it is. And Sarah, bah humbug, we have less than a minute, so I do appreciate you coming out
Thank you, George.
This beautiful Friday morning and giving input. And and I'm over the lake all the time, so I see all the decorations.
Yes, they're beautiful.
It's pretty awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
And we appreciate our choreographer, our camera person, my script writer, Miss Anna Bray back there. Miss Anna, we thank you. And Miss Sarah Vaughn from Vancouver. I do appreciate you coming in. Yes.
Thanks, George.
Thank you. Later for HCEC-TV and Issues and Insights.
I'm Sarah Vaughn, and I'm with the City of Elizabethtown, and today we're here at the beautiful Historic State Theater in downtown E-Town to celebrate something and talk about the 30th anniversary of a little bitty event we like to call Christmas in the Park. 30 years later, this event is still going strong, and today I'm so honored to welcome in former Mayor Pat Durbin and former Mayor's Secretary, that's correct, right, Carolyn? Miss Carolyn. Miss Carolyn Kuiper-Ritchie. So ladies, thank you so much for coming today. It is so important that folks know the history. It's 30 years of an event. I have yet to meet anyone that has not been through Christmas in the Park, who has not experienced it, and who doesn't love it. And so we feel that it's very important that folks know how it started, and we want to hear it right from you guys. So thank you so much. I want to start by sharing a couple of current facts. Because I think that it's important to know the work that you all put in 30 years ago, that it's still going strong, and how successful it is today. So we installed a car counter about 5 years ago because we really wanted to know exactly how many vehicles went through the event. And we found out very quickly that anywhere between 30,000 and 45,000 vehicles crossed over the car counter. So if you look at each car, very rarely do you have a car go through that only has one person in it, right? Some of those vehicles are buses, some of them are vans. I know myself, I'm a family of 5. So when my vehicle goes over, you're counting 5 people. So we range the attendees for Christmas in the Park anywhere from 60,000 to over 100,000 plus. We'll never know exactly how many people and the lives that you all have touched in the creation of Christmas in the Park. We have over 100 light displays. Some years it's 120. The city has anywhere from 20 to 30, ranging on what spots we need to fill in. Donations, as you all know, it's still a free event. Thank you for starting it as a free event. And we see donations anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000 a year, so almost $1 a car, which is fantastic. And last but not least, we started to require LED lighting of all our displays. And just a fun fact that electricity, and you guys might remember the dollar amounts in the beginning, but electricity before LED lighting was required and really started to become popular, the electricity bill was over $30,000 to run it. So the money that came in, as you know, went straight for that. Now, it's about $7,000 to run Christmas in the Park. So we're able to take those donations and put back in. So I just wanted you guys to know those fun facts that you all probably enjoy much more than most other people, being a part of the logistics. Of course. Of course. So Mayor Durbin, I have been told many a times by former Mayor Edinburgher that it was your idea to start Christmas in the Park. So tell us about that.
Well, I am the mother of a kid who graduated in 1990 from high school. And our son, Derek, was playing in the high school tournament in Ashland, Kentucky. And so my husband and I went to Ashland to spend hopefully 2 or 3 days. When they fell out of the game, they had to go home. So we went down there to spend 2 or 3 days, hopefully, and we got to stay that long. But anyway, one night, my husband and I saw this little square, a block, and as we were riding around, and they had little Christmas trees, little decorations just around one block in Ashland, Kentucky, and cars were just kind of moseying around. It was at the Christmas time, the tournament was called the Ashland Christmas Tournament, and the cars were just kind of going around, kind of going slowly. So we did the same thing, and we took Tony Scott. A lot of you might remember Tony Scott and his wife. His son was one of the managers for the basketball team that was playing in the tournament up there. And so he and Geneva went with us on this tour around the 5-minute tour. The cars weren't in the way. And we talked about it, and we thought, I said, that'd be a great thing to have in E-Town. And we've got a good place to have it. We can have a really big a big thing if we had it at the lake. So I came back and I talked to Carol and some of my friends and people in the office, and it just clicked. And so we developed a committee. Carol was my secretary at that time, and I put her in charge. I put in charge of all our dirty deals. But I put her in charge, and she really did a wonderful job. We had really good people who were conscientious, and not only volunteers, some of our employees were really, really helpful. And I think the thing that really has made it a success is the fact that everybody is responsible for the display that they have. If yours goes down, you come back and fix it. It's not up to the city employees. And that way it stays maintained and nobody's pointing the finger. They know first things. And I love the fact that it's free because anybody can go as many times as they want. So that was the idea. It just happened that we had a turn. I call them God winks. I use the word God winks all the time because I think things just happen for a cause.
Yeah.
So that was how it happened. I came back all excited. My husband said, "Pat, you're crazy." And he knew that when I married him, so but anyway, it worked out fine. I'm really, really proud that it has followed through the years and got much bigger and better because we had to have 13 people?
We had 19.
19 people.
Well, I never got anybody to come in. So how did you get those 19 folks? How did that start?
I think that we went and begged and told them how important it is to support the community.
Do you remember what businesses there were?
I have a list of them. You have a list of them in your file, I'm sure.
Okay.
You know which ones didn't do it either the first year and wanted to the next. That was a good thing.
And the next year we didn't have a room for everybody that wanted in.
Really?
Yeah. And so then we had to start putting more electricity boxes in, electrical boxes. And we had to do all of that to make that possible.
So what was the, logistics? Because that's where I live in the event world, logistics. How do you make this work? The electricity is a very important part. So what were the issues with the electric at the beginning?
Well, deciding where to put them.
Yeah.
Because not only is it for Christmas in the park, the park's used all year long. So you have to have them where they're not in the way of other things that are going to be coming in. And we already were using it for our Heartland Festival, so we had up close to the barn and everything, we already had some electricity. But on out in the park, we didn't accept it for pavilions.
It was just a nature park.
Yeah.
That was the purpose, the original purpose, and it's still a nature park with some lights and things.
With some electricity.
So we had to strategically plan where we were going to put the electricity and how far off the road, depending on the size of the displays. And it was just a lot of work that went into just getting all of that worked out.
I can't imagine.
We changed where you moved, where we started it,
Right.
over to the new entrance to the park.
Yeah.
It used to be over where?
By Coke, as you came in by Coke.
Okay.
Yeah. As you're doing your trick or treats, you're
Right.
coming in by the Coke plant this
Right.
year. So that's used to be where we always came in instead of exiting. So we used to exit out the back way.
Mm-hmm. And that's where the arches were. 'Cause as a kid, we used to drive
Right,
really
yeah.
fast through the arches.
Yeah, but
That was the bridge, the bridge.
Yeah. And so you go out and come out through the Knoll Road after that.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be the exit.
Are there any displays today that you all still see that either were a part of it at the beginning or pieces of them that are still sticking around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorites is the Town Laundry. They have Santa in the barrel.
Yep.
Waiting for his clothes to be cleaned. And that was one of my favorites. And I like the reindeer at, can't remember which one that is, reindeer at,
Modern Welding was one of our first, and they're on the hill and they're in the same spot. And that was our agreement with them. If they would come, they would always be in that spot. And they, as far as I know, they were still there last year. As far as I know, they're still in the same spot. So
Good to know.
Because we get my spot. We
Double
did
check
tell
that.
them, after a few years, we did tell them that they might be moved because of just changing it around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So we did start moving a few of them, but some of them had kind of got their display for that spot.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't work in other spots. So you had to think about the logistics of all of that also, as far as where they were putting and what they were buying. And we had to approve everything that they brought to the park.
Right.
And so some people didn't get in with what they wanted sometimes, because we wanted it to say about Christmas.
Yes.
and support the businesses.
So right now the guidelines are obviously geared toward Christmas. Your display has to be about Christmas, obviously, in whatever capacity. But they're allowed to have a 2 foot by 4 foot sign with their business name or logo, but that's it. Were those guidelines, is that something that you all created?
Was.
So they've stuck
That
around?
the sign has still been the same.
There was a lot of preparation for it. Our committee was great. I mean, they just worked like beavers to get it done. And that was Flint Inc. They had the ones where the little deer were dancing, all of them just dancing and kicking their legs up. And the kids loved that one too. So there are a lot of rules of it.
So I don't know how old this story is, but I want to share with you in case you don't know, because you mentioned Godwing. So Rogers Sign Service, their display is just a cross, a lighted cross. Very simple, but it's absolutely beautiful. And the placement of it, when we went to go look at maybe moving it around, because like you said, we try to keep it fresh, so we still do that every couple of years. We were told that there was a patient in communicator that was actually considering committing suicide, and he was asking for a sign from God, and it was during Christmas in the park. He happened to look out the window and see that cross. So, if nothing else, Christmas in the park may have just been created for that one human being,
It reminds me of the Hallmark Christmas program.
Yes.
I feel like they talk about your community and all, everything is so dear. Every time I think of Christmas in the park, it reminds me of the Hallmark season.
I agree.
All those Christmas movies that you watch that are nice, clean movies, and it's just a nice, clean,
It really is. It really is. And it sounds like a lot of the rules we keep in place today, and we do our best to enforce. Sometimes you make people mad, as I'm sure you remember. But it's important to keep the integrity of it and to keep it looking great and all those things. So did you all have any opposition when you started this?
Not opposition, but I like to tell funny stories. There was a bank right across the street from our entrance, and the president of the bank was a good friend of mine. I just begged him to put his cute little frame that he had out in front of his bank in our park. And he said, I'm not going to do it. People will look at my frame, they'll know that's my business. And we were just kind of going back and forth. So he did not put his train in the park that year, but the next year he put his train in the park. We won one. He was a good fellow, though. He was a good man.
Told you so, right? Do you remember how many, did you ever have a guess of how many people came through the first few years?
Well, we had counters back then also.
You did?
Yeah, I've got it in my file.
I can't wait to look through this file, Carolyn.
And we had counters. We borrowed the Hardin County Road Department's road
Okay,
counter.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they put it up for us each year, took it down, gave us the count, and printed out the count for us. So we did have counts going through back then.
Okay.
And our big feat was getting a donation box, which you're still using.
Why was that such a big feat?
Because it came from the U.S. government. It is a actual postal box.
And it still is, you're exactly right.
And I had to go to a surplus place to end up getting that box and making sure that we could paint it and nobody ever knew where it came from.
Now they know.
Now that can't be done.
Now they know.
And it can't go, no, I'm just, but no, that the postmaster was very nice and that we really can't sell these or anything, but we know where all the surplus is, and so we ended up getting a surplus box, one of the big ones, and it's still being used, and painted it and fixed it to where we could see. Yeah. So that's how we ended up with our donation box.
Okay.
And the police would pick up the money and...
Still do? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Still
So,
do. Awesome.
but yes, a lot of the things that were there to begin with are still there. That we, as the mayor said, we thought about all the things that had to happen to make it a success. And so
You really were able to see further out than most people, because like I said, we still
Mayor was
keep.
always a visionary,
Yes.
and she still is.
She's very nice.
Is there anything that you all drive through now and say, man, I wish they still did that? Man, I wish the rockets with climate control, they finally had ran their course. And we received so many letters a few years ago, where are the rockets? And they were mad at us over it, So I don't mean to call out climate control, but things do. They age, and unfortunately, they sit out in the weather and they don't work. So driving through now, are there things now you wish that, or you remember that you wish that you could see back there?
Not dragon.
Yeah, the dragon on the
That was
water.
an idea. I'm a cup. I always called him cup. And
Dragon.
but I know that was a real feat trying to keep it lit out on the water. And then we put the dolphins and all like them. And a lot of the things, water ones are always hard. And of course, we always had the one from, which is not there anymore, the boat place that where St. Vincent de Paul. They always took their pontoon out and put the lights and Santa out on it. And of course, they're no longer in business. So you do lose some of your displays that you remember because the business is changing. So, but that one was always, the water ones have such a beautiful reflection.
Yeah.
And that's why the water ones are so important.
Those dragons, the dragon was really great. We attributed that to Mimi.
Yeah.
Going back to, we just thought that seemed like Mimi.
Yeah.
And I talked to Mimi, and she was very gracious. Wasn't available to come and do the interview, but she definitely appreciated the phone call, and knew that she was very well appreciated for being a part of the committee. Who else was a part of it at the very beginning? You mentioned Tony Scott.
Well, that Tony was just in the car with us when we went around the block.
Right.
But he was all in for it. He'd do anything needed to be done.
Myself, Mimi, Dale Ford, Billy Trout was, there was someone from one day. I got that, you got that list too in your phone. But those were the ones that, there was only like 5 of us, six maybe at the most that was on the first committee. And then we started increasing. And then Paul Greenwell came on. He was on it for many years, even after Billy Pratt came on. Janice Krause came on.
That's sad, my time.
Yeah, so there was lots of other people that came on and went off after Brenda Fullerton came on. So there was lots of people that came on over the years and stayed on. And even after I left, there were more people that came on. So, yeah.
Stay tuned for the next segment of Christmas in the Park, a community tradition, where we go through the history and all of the great details of how Christmas in the Park started 30 years ago.